Sweet. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Saints View, the channel for Southampton content for our match preview ahead of what is looking likely to be the biggest game of Southampton's season. The same for Leeds as well, as we travel up to Ellen Road for a 3 o'clock kickoff. Big game. It's 19th hosting 20th. There's still so much to be played for down at the bottom. It's going to be a real scrap. Joining me to look ahead to this weekend strip is, of course, Rob and Liam, as always. Boys, how are you doing? Rob, you go first, mate.
Yeah, doing well. Nervous but excited. Nervous but excited for me.
Liam, how are you feeling?
No, man, I'm really good, actually. Somewhat very positive for a team who's bottom of the league, so it's quite nice to be in that mood this week.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling, isn't it? I think I was saying this to a mate the other day. You know, doesn't support Southampton at all. We're just talking football, and I was saying how this is the first time in a long while where I've been nervous for the game coming up on the weekend throughout the entire week. As we've kind of lost more and more games, I've learned how to manage my emotions a bit better. But this genuinely is one where I've been excited. It's that typical mix of excitement, but also massive nerves as well. Obviously, I think we'd all be feeling a little bit differently had we not won at Chelsea on the weekend. But I think that's exactly why we're confident. You know, we spoke about it in the Chelsea review last weekend about the influence Selles has had in that first game, how every bit of content that the club releases at the moment seems really positive. I mean, since we did our review, even the behind the scenes video came out, and I think that emphasizes everything we kind of said in our stream about Selles and how much the players like him. So, Rob, I know we spoke about this on Sunday, but obviously a handful of days have gone by now. If they win on Saturday, are you handing Selles the job on a permanent basis, at least for the end of the season?
First and foremost, if I lag at all, then just leave me to it. Move on to Liam. I think the Wi-Fi's playing up a little bit tonight, but yeah, I think it's so hard, isn't it? I don't think the club want to take another bath in terms of money. I think we've spent 15-20 million on replacing managers and hiring managers this year. I think Selles deserves to stay in the role as he is at the moment, which is interim. I don't think there's any need for us to necessarily rush into giving him a 3 or a 4 year deal when there's quite important games ahead. I feel like Selles would be pretty complacent with remaining as the interim boss, because it's a great thing to have on your CV, especially if you do well. I don't think the club will want to rush into it. I mean, personally, I think if he wins against Leeds, then he definitely deserves to stay in as interim for a long time. Give him like another 5 games. I mean, I would anyway, personally, because we just look so much better against Chelsea, regardless. Especially with the lack of availability in terms of managers out there that we can actually get and that want to come to us without us breaking the bank. I think there's much worse decisions than leaving Ruben Selles in as interim. As I said on the space quite a lot. I think a good window of 5 to 10 games before judging on giving him a permanent contract, because we saw Craig Shakespeare, he went on like a 4-5 game win streak when he was Leicester interim a couple of years ago. They gave him the job and then he had like a 20% win percentage. So it's just not something you don't want to immediately rush into, obviously.
No, of course not. I mean, we're speaking about this after one result.
I know, mad, isn't it?
So it's I think everyone's just got to calm down a little bit and see what happens on Saturday, because as we said, these are the games that are going to define the season realistically. And I'm just looking at the league table as you're speaking there, mate, and just reminding myself of how tight it is. So
it's tight.
1 point and 1 place separate Saints and Leeds. With 3 points of safety with a better goal difference than Bournemouth. So a victory most likely would see us out of the bottom 3 for, I couldn't even tell you when the last time we were out of the bottom 3 was.
No, I can't remember.
October the 29th, I can tell you.
October the 20th. He's done his research.
As soon as we lost against Newcastle, we were in that bottom 3.
Blimey.
And since then, we've not moved.
We've stayed there.
Brilliant.
Blimey,
But that
God.
tells, I mean, I think that tells you a lot about this season in general, for the whole Premier League, about how poor some of these teams generally have been. Like that's unheard of, that bottom of the league after 23, 24 games is only 3 points adrift. But that means a victory will most likely get us out for the meantime, because Bournemouth have Man City, and on paper you think that's going to go one of two, just one way.
One way, I think.
Hopefully.
But we'll talk about Leeds in a bit. We've got a Leeds fan coming on, I think, in 10 minutes or so. But I think it's one of those where it could go so many different ways, Liam. Obviously, we've spoken about numerous games, particularly recently, about it being the biggest of the season. We have Forest at home, Wolves at home, Everton away. And generally, we've come out of those games on the wrong end of what we want. But how confident are you that this could be one of those days where it is a big game, but we do come out on top?
I just think it's going to be very intriguing. I see it 4-2-2 against 4-2-2. Those Leeds fans are going to be absolutely wild. And we took a reduced allocation as well, so we're going to have to try and make some noise. And for me, it's whether the players deal with the situation well. I don't know. Even though we beat Chelsea, I'm still not like overly confident. But one thing is I like seeing is the smiling in training. When you have a happy squad, you're in a better mood and you're better on the pitch. And for me, if we can use that to our advantage, where Leeds are down in the dumps, that's the one thing I look at and think that can go our way. But for me, we got to silence that crowd within the first 10 minutes. We can't go 1-0 down. I know we did the same against Everton, but for me, I think it's a different type of crowd, Everton to Leeds, because once they're 1-0 up, they are absolutely ruthless. And for me, we need the big players to step up, like Sunamana, Onuachu. I think for me, this game for them is absolutely perfect. Their defence is very, very weak, and that Max Wober as well is out for a few weeks, so he won't be playing. So Onuachu should be having a field day, hopefully. So I'm the most confident I can be. I don't want us to rely on James Ward-Prowse free kick again. We really need the other players to step up.
Yeah,
and get him to stop breaking his back.
Mate, spot on.
I was going to ask you or ask someone about Onuachu and Sulemana, because I do feel like this could be. I think with that chance against Chelsea, this may be the game that does end up being perfect for Onuachu. And he does break. I say break his duck. It's not like it's been a drought, but he gets his first goal for Saints. But I think you're absolutely spot on. I think we are gonna learn a lot from this game. It is really intriguing for me. I think there's a lot still to be found out about this side. Obviously Leeds as well. We'll kind of talk about it once we've got our Leeds fan on, but still concerns that Javi Gracia won't be in the dugout, and it will actually be battle of two interim managers once again, with Selles against Skabala. But if you think back to that game in the sunshine, that 2-2 back at St Mary's, second game of the season, obviously when we went 2-0 down, it seemed like it was, it went toxic, didn't it? There was already a massive proportion of the fan base wanting Ralph out during the summer. He was still in charge. We came back from 2 goals down to draw, could have easily won it. Did you think that when you watched those two sides on the day, did you think that come the reverse fixture, it would be a situation like this?
Obviously Leeds started the season so well, right? They were like, after beating Chelsea 3-0, so they're in the top 10 for quite a long time, right? Or up there. So if you would have told me, with the amount of money they've invested, last summer, bringing in quality players like Aronson, Sinistera, Rocker, and a few others, I would be shocked to know that they were 19th at this time, especially when you got a World Cup break. We haven't played all that many games compared to last year. In terms of Saints, I predicted that we'd be bottom of the league, so I wouldn't have necessarily been that shocked, but definitely on a Leeds perspective, I would have been, because I think that they've got a nice squad. They brought in some nice additions, and Jesse Marsh got them playing some really nice football at times, and then it all just seemed to fall apart for him. I mean, even Saints. I mean, we were doing, Dan, you were at the game with myself. The Leeds game, and it felt like that kick-started our season almost. That felt like
I
the
agree.
launch pad, and then it just again all fell apart. So two teams with similar stories. I think both invested heavily in the summer. Leeds started the season so much better than us, but for both clubs it seems to have just completely fallen apart. So it'll be really interesting to see the difference in dynamic between the game on Saturday and the previous one, because obviously we set up, I believe, in the game against Leeds earlier on in the season, we set up in a 4-2-2, and it's probably quite likely that we play that same formation against Leeds, even though we've tried about 6 or 7 different ones since that game. So it's funny how football works like that, isn't it? But it's weird.
It is a weird situation. I think you can draw a lot of similarities between Saints and Leeds, both this season and last season, going on ridiculous winless streaks. I couldn't even tell you how many games Leeds are without a win at the moment, but I think they haven't won since the
November
5th.
It's that Bournemouth game, wasn't it? Yeah,
against Bournemouth.
So obviously they're in desperate need of a victory, and they're falling, they're free falling quickly. But it does feel, once again, it's a season where you've got two teams. Well, in Everton and Leeds, this is the point I'm making. You've got two teams there who looked like they were going to kick on after narrowly escaping relegation, and they just haven't. So it will, is personally, as an outsider, I'm not actually that surprised to see Leeds in the mix. You never know with these big money signings, do you? Obviously, it was us against them for Cody Gakpo in the end. We both missed out.
Both lost.
And Liverpool, he ended up at Liverpool in the following window. But to be honest with you, the way he's playing at the moment, I'm not too sure whether we've dodged a bullet or not. And anyway, Leeds would have got him regardless.
Yeah, he's got to have time.
Sinistera, I remember.
He's a quality player.
Yeah, I remember us being quite jealous about that one. I couldn't tell you what their 40 million striker's called, Liam.
That Ruta?
Help me out
Ruta,
here. Yeah, obviously that'll
like
take
some
time.
French 20-year-old kid.
But you just never know, do you? You just
So you got Giorgio Ruta, who just signed for Hoffenheim for 40 mil. You've got Roca, who signed as a number 6 to play next to Tyler Adams. So that as a pairing, as a pivot, is solid, right? In my opinion.
Yeah, Weston McKennie as well.
Weston McKennie come in.
I'm jealous of that one.
Brendan Aronson, really, really dynamic number 10, who can play as a forward 8. As you said, Sinistera, Jack Harrison on the other wing, Bamford or Giorgio Ruta up top.
He's unreal.
Unreal player.
What still that was.
But you've just mentioned all those players, and the ones that I'm more terrified of are the ones that were cheaper deals.
Agreed.
And that's what I find interesting. And I think it's a perfect time to introduce our Leeds fan. We've got Oscar from All Leeds TV. Thank you for coming on, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, not great, to be honest, mate. Not great. Not really enjoying footy, but I think we're in the same boat, aren't we? I think we're in the same boat that I cannot wait for this season to end. Hopefully it doesn't end in relegation, but I just want to start winning games again, to be honest. It's just absolutely grim, isn't it? Let's be honest. But in general life, I'm doing good, mate. How are you guys?
Good. Yeah, we're decent in general life. I mean, I think football life was a bit better after last weekend, but I can't go into this weekend before talking about the elephant in the room that was the Jesse Marsch links and how close he was to taking the Southampton job and how he could have been coming back to Ellen Road very soon after being dismissed. What did you make of all of that? Because, I mean, he was literally down in Southampton. He was ready to sign the contracts and had a kind of late change of heart. As an outsider looking in, obviously someone who knows Jesse Marsch from him managing your side for the last year, what did you make of the deal? Did you think, Southampton, what they're doing, or did you think, actually he could come back to bite us here?
I mean, am I right in saying that it was more Southampton pulled the plug rather than Jesse Marsch himself?
I think it was. I think it was
a bit
more,
of both.
I think it was a bit of both. I think mainly down to the contract length.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it just never worked at our place, really. I think it was kind of worked first sort of 12 games at Leeds. We stayed up last season, but I think ultimately long term it just was never going to work. And at Southampton, I don't know if it was going to be much more of a different story, to be honest. I think the only difference was that Southampton was obviously had Hasenhüttl there for such a long time, playing a relatively similar style of football, but in the end of the day, is Jesse Marsch a better manager than Ralph Hasenhüttl? He plays a similar brand of football. I don't think he is, to be honest. I don't think he's done anywhere near as well as what Hasenhüttl has done in the Red Bull brand as such. And then you look at what Hasenhüttl did at Southampton. Yeah, okay, it went wrong this season, but I think he did the bones of what was a really solid job if you look at his whole time at the club. So I don't know, maybe he'd had an initial little, what's the word for it, new manager bounce, potentially, but I think really long term that was something that wasn't going to work, and I don't think that he would have kept that squad up, to be honest. I think you made the right decision if it was the Southampton side of things. And listen, I will be a little bit biased because obviously the situation we are in is very much probably mostly down to Jesse Marsch. We're being totally honest. We have to be honest about it, and it is probably mostly down to Jesse Marsch. He has got the squad. And he's just not kicked on at all. And I just don't see how it's a different story at Southampton, really. So I think really your chances of staying up are better now than what they would have been under Jesse Marsch, to be totally honest with you.
That's
Can
really
I just come in
interesting.
there? Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
So, Oscar, I don't know if you're aware, but Jesse Marsch and Ralph obviously quite close in terms, obviously, through Red Bull and whatnot. Jesse Marsch, before he took the Leeds job, actually came to Southampton and shadowed Ralph for about 4 to 6 weeks, apparently. So that might be one of the reasons why he's got playing. But what I want to know, Oscar, with obviously Jesse Marsch setting up in a 4-2-2 or 4-2-3-1, similar to what Ralph played under us. What did you think of that style of football itself? Did it suit your players? Do you think, because you have very athletic players, you've got a very athletic squad? I'm a bit of myth as to why it didn't really work.
I think there is players in the squad who definitely suit the style, and I think if you looked at the squads, one by one, you'd probably say most suited the style rather than didn't suit the style. But I think the key thing was that probably 2 of our best players really didn't suit the style. And I mean, really didn't suit it. In terms of Mark Rocker, I think it was a clear one where I think his quality, I think on the ball, is one of the best midfielders outside the top 6, to be totally honest with you. But the way we play, because it is so direct and front foot, we didn't really allow Mark Rocker to pass the ball, to be honest. It was all about Mark Rocker got the ball. It's just all about trying to break the line straight away. Rather than letting him just get on the ball, dictate play a little bit, it was all about 1-2 touch. Everything's 1-2 touch under Jesse Marsch. And I just felt under Mark Rocker, we had someone there who could really control games for us. Games like Tottenham away, when we lost 4-3 and we were like 2-1 up, 3-2 up, and then lost 4-3. That's a game where for Mark Rocker, just get him on the ball last sort of 10 minutes of the game. You control it, he calms it down, but we just didn't use his capabilities at all in Jesse Marsch's system in that respect.
Thank God he's not playing then.
As well. You can't really say that, okay, Jesse Marsch inherited them. He sanctioned off that signing, and knowing the way he's going to play, that's a bad sign of him being able to identify player ID. I think really you could question a lot with Jesse Marsch. The fact that he signed we've got 4 wingers who are better on the left than what they are on the right. That was another big issue. We tried to play Sinistera on the right side, rather than the left.
As well.
Yeah,
it wasn't anywhere. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't anywhere near as good on the left, on the right, as what he was on the left, and that's the key thing. Really, that's 2 players straight away where the system just didn't suit them at all. I think defensively there were big problems throughout. The way we defend is so narrow was a big problem. It's not so bad if you control the game because you're not going to have that much pressure on your back line. But when you're making the game chaotic and you're defending chaotically as well, you're just going to concede goals and chances. And listen, I thought with ball, in terms of creating chances, we're okay under Jesse Marsch. It wasn't. I can't sit here and say I was bored watching Leeds under Jesse Marsch. It wasn't really. But there was certain limitations on his system where long term it just wasn't working. I think in this league as well, I think you're seeing with a lot of teams who try and press or have very much pressing minded managers like Hasenhüttl, Marsch, Klopp this season. You're seeing now in this league, it's becoming less and less effective, that style of play. The chaotic kind of like heavy metal football is becoming less and less effective. And my theory on it is that you're seeing a lot more teams have more technical quality to play through that. You're seeing the likes of Leeds having someone like Mark Rocker in the squad. You're seeing, Brighton and that, like the technical quality they've got. Fulham have come into this league and they've signed people like Paulinho. I mean, that's unthinkable 5 years or so ago. Every team's got great technicians, at least one top quality forward. And I just thought the chaotic style of football just wasn't sustainable. It worked last season. It did work last season, but I do think an element of that was the new manager bounce. And we have to put an enormous taxation on last season as well in Rafinha. I mean,
Yeah,
I hate to
absolutely.
use the word Rafinha tax, but Rafinha tax was definitely a thing last season. And I think since he's come out the team, it looks really, really grim now. You know, you're thinking last season we had that one player who could step up. This season we don't really. We have some very good players, but we don't have that one player who can just win you a game on its own.
Fair enough.
Do you think it was destined to fail after taking over Bielsa? Because that's such a huge job to like come over, and especially like the Leeds fans absolutely loving Bielsa as well. Even though at the time, like he probably did deserve to get sacked. Do you think it was just too much for him, or the Leeds fans didn't really react to him well? I don't know, but
I think for me it was the wrong decision to sack Bielsa, to be honest. And listen, I know it's probably we're very emotional as Leeds fans, you know, over the Marcelo Bielsa issue, but I could see why the club sacked Bielsa. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it was like, oh, how dare they do this? How dare they do that? It's totally wrong in that lot. But I still thought it was the wrong decision. I thought it at the time. And obviously when Jesse Marsch came in, listen, that was a part of it. You know, the fact that his style of play was so different to Bielsa's. I mean, the common myth in the media is that they play the same style of football, but they don't really. I think under Bielsa, there's, 10 times more width under Bielsa. Like, they couldn't be any more different in that respect. I mean, the way Bielsa used his wingers was totally different to what Jesse Marsch did. And that was a problem. Listen, that was a problem, Liam, in terms of, you know, he was taking over from Bielsa. It was like the impossible job. Like, the fact that most of the fan base didn't want Bielsa sacked, he would have had to have done something exceptional to really win us over. And I don't think he ever did truly win us over. And he didn't help himself, though. I can't, you know, say that Leeds fans didn't give him a chance. He was given a chance. You know, he had almost a year in the job. He didn't take us forward. We spent, okay, we recouped back 100 million, but we spent 150. So you're thinking, did we get a return on money in terms of the signings? Probably not, in all honesty. We probably should be better than what we are. But yeah, I think it felt to me probably Fulham at home in mid-October when we lost 3-2 and went 1-0 up quite early doors. That was the moment where I thought, this isn't going to work. I'll be honest with you, that was my exact thoughts coming out the ground. This just isn't going to work. I mean, we were inconsistent at the start of the season, but you were seeing signs where you're thinking, okay, there's something to build on there. But the Fulham game, the weaknesses just came out too much. The defending the pitch like this rather than that was a big problem. Key players missing. As soon as one or two players got injured, Tyler Adams, for example, the midfield fell to pieces. There was no athleticism in the midfield. And yeah, it's just this style was so reliant on just tenacity and aggression and high energy. And whenever the team slightly wasn't fully at it in that respect, they didn't have the build-up play, the combinations, the general idea with the ball to kind of make up for it. It looks pretty poor, to be honest, before he was sacked. And I've had the feeling we were going down, to be honest, since probably the start of this year, this calendar year, to be honest. I just think there's been so many games this season where we've had the chance, real chance to win, and we've just bottled it, really. Yeah, I think really have bottled it. And this type of game at the weekend is the exact type of game that we've bottled throughout Jesse Marsch's time and throughout, you know, the time since that as well.
Before you came on, we were saying how I think you can draw quite a lot of similarities between Saints and Leeds over the last year and kind of the situations they've both faced. But it is interesting hearing what you have to say about Jesse Marsch, because when we thought he was going to come, we kind of argued that maybe Saints was the sort of club that was perfect for him in the first place, and that he could hit the ground running and it'd be a better fit. But then on the flip side, there is that argument, well, if you sat Ralph Hasen at all, what, you know, Jesse Marsch isn't an improvement. Obviously, there's he who shall not be named in between that. But yeah, we don't need to. We didn't need to go into that. But we'll talking about the game. We were talking before about how close the relegation battle is. Firstly, what have your thoughts been, or what your current thoughts, I should say, on the relegation battle throughout this season so far in general? Because the point we've been constantly making is how it's absolutely unheard of for teams to be this close to the safety point after the amount of games they've played. Southampton are 3 points off safety and will go out of the relegation zone most likely with a victory on the weekend. Same with Leeds. but there's under half of the season left. That's unheard of. That the bottom side is still well and truly in the picture of safety. So what have you generally made of the relegation battle? Because it is so tight down there.
Yeah, I think, as you say, traditionally, normally you've got at least one team who's probably down at this point. Maybe not mathematically, but they are realistically going down. And sometimes even two teams. This time last year, Watford had probably been relegated at this point. Norwich most certainly been relegated at this point. Norwich were pretty much relegated in August, to be honest. And this season, though, it has been different. Listen, there's been times where I thought maybe Bournemouth might get cut adrift a little bit. Even Southampton under Nathan Jones, the fact that I thought you'd probably stick with him a little bit longer until obviously that Wolves defeat really forced the issue, I think. I thought maybe Southampton might get cut adrift, but you made the right decision in terms of sacking him eventually. And obviously you guys are still more than got a chance. No, absolutely everyone's got a chance of staying up now. There's no team that's out of it. It could be a case of an Everton and Leeds go down, or a Leeds and West Ham go down, or a West Ham and Everton go down. I mean, it is very much, we're facing that realistic possibility now. I mean, you even go up as far as like Forest, who are still not totally out of it. I've had in my head for ages that Forest are so far clear, there's no chance they're getting dragged in. I actually looked at it the other day, I thought, you know what, they could quite easily still get dragged in here. If that home form dips a little bit, you never know. So
Palace is another one.
Palace as well. Yeah, Palace low-key have been really inconsistent this season. One injury to Zaha, which they actually got at this moment in time. You're seeing they are a much less effective team without him on the pitch. So there is definitely a case for 3 out of 8, 3 out of 9 possibly teams still possibly being in it. And it's a scary thought. I think, to be totally honest with you guys, I think the most likely team to get cut adrift out of everyone, and listen, I might be a little bit biased here, is Leeds United right at this moment in time. In terms of, you look at the form since the 3rd week of August, we're actually on 11 points since the 3rd week of August. We took 7 points from the first 9.
How many wins since then?
There is 2 wins since then.
Bloody hell.
It is nuts, isn't it?
I think we've got more wins than you now.
Exactly.
We do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Leeds have the least amount of wins.
Well, no, it's interesting you mentioned Forest, and we've made the example of Palace, because I don't think they've won since the World Cup break either. 8 points separates bottom of the league in 12th place. That's unheard of after 23.
With 15 games left, mate. That's insane.
Yeah, 2 wins.
It's crazy.
Anything.
But we've also been talking about how, because it's interesting the point you made. I mean, I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks. I'm certain that you're going to see at least 2 established Premier League teams go down.
Yeah. Very, very much quite possibly, yeah.
West Ham are in there, Everton are in there, we're in there. I count Leeds as established now. It's a big club regardless.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be really interesting. Wolves, exactly. Wolves aren't out.
Everyone thought they were going to stay up after beating us, and they also
and so it is absolutely nuts at the moment. And I think that leads me quite nicely into looking ahead to Saturday's game. I think for me, it's the biggest game of our season, at least so far. I'm sure you're going to think it's one of them.
Exact same.
Same. It's a massive, massive, massive game, and it is because it's been the same for Leeds. These games we haven't been winning, and that's kind of what's put us in this situation. That's what lost Nathan Jones's job. He had a great run of fixtures to go and get points and take Southampton out of the picture at least for the time being. And we lost all of them. Forest at home, bar one. Forest at home. We beat Everton away, and they were god awful. Lost at home to Wolves the other day. So traditionally, this has been one of the games this season where we've not shown up and we've thrown it, or we've taken the lead and we've thrown it away. And also, we were previewing this game on the weekend in terms of, because what it looked like, it would be 2 interim managers going head to head in the dugouts. What is the situation with Javi Gracia at the moment?
Yeah.
Because we're baffled.
I have no idea if he's going to be in the dugout or not. I don't know if he's going to have a.
We're absolutely baffled.
So they said he doesn't have enough points because obviously the way the work permits now work after Brexit is you have to have a certain amount of points, which is apparently Javi Gracia does not have enough. So
it's like a loyalty card system, isn't it? It's
I don't think he's going to be able to be there, is he?
I don't think he can take training. He can still he's been talking over Zoom apparently, hasn't he?
Yet.
But this is the point we were making. We don't understand how you can appoint someone when that could be a that could be a major issue because he's come in ahead of what is arguably Leeds' biggest game of the season to try and give them that bounce to get a vital 3 points, and they can't even have him in the dugout. What do you make of the whole situation?
It just sums up our season. I mean, to be totally honest with you, like just one whole issue just kind of sums up our season where it's just there is no pre-planning. I mean, the fact that there must have been an idea this is to be a problem. I mean, that's the way I look at it. There must have been an idea that, yes, this won't be straightforward enough. You know, this won't be nice and straightforward. And I think part of it as well is Brexit as well. I think it's part of the. I think prior to Brexit, this wouldn't have been as much of an issue. This probably would have got sorted out. So yeah, listen, it's a massive worry. You know, whether Javi Gracia is going to have a drone flying over the ground or something, whether he's going to be hiding in a laundry basket like Mourinho did a couple of years ago. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is on that. You know, so we could quite possibly have Michael Skubala in charge again. So, yeah, I don't know what to think. I'd be surprised if he hasn't spoken to the players already, like via Zoom or something like that. That's just, at a guess. That is, it's. I would be surprised if that isn't the case. But yeah, it's not ideal. It really isn't ideal. I think ideally we wanted a manager in place before Everton, and the fact that we go into potentially the Everton and Southampton games both without a manager in place kind of sums up where we're at, really. And
how
this
have you
is
set
the final
up
roll of
over...
the dice for Leeds at this moment in time.
Oh, sorry, Oscar. How have you set up under Skubala? Because I haven't really post Jesse Marsh. I haven't really been able to really catch up with Leeds, to be honest with you. How have you been setting up? Is it similar to what formation wise under Marsh, or have you been using width a lot more, or what's been the game plan?
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of been like almost like a hybrid, kind of like, if you know what I mean. There is still elements of Marsh ball there. We still do look to press high up the pitch. It is a little bit less erratic kind of thing. It's a little bit less everything's about the pressing and that lot. We are a little bit more patient and look for triggers and that lot. If the ball's going back to the goalkeeper or getting passed back or the opposition's taking time on the ball, we will be quite aggressive and just try and get in the faces a little bit. Definitely more width. There's no doubt about that. Defensively, to be honest, it sounds a bit daft, the fact that we haven't improved much statistically, but defensively, with the eye test, it has been better. We are conceding less big chances. But ultimately, it still feels like it's lacking in direction, as it would do under a caretaker, really. It was kind of wishful thinking that Skubala could take over for the rest of the season. It was always a tall order. But yeah, that's probably the general idea, really. I think it has been still high pressing, but a little bit less aggressive, a little bit more measured in that respect, a bit more width, but still, it is still like watching a pinball machine. They're watching Leeds kind of thing. I mean, we turn the ball over that much, we win it back, we turn it over, win it back, we turn it over. And when you're winning games, it's fine. You can kind of say, 4-3, what a win. What a win, what a game kind of thing. We're being entertained. But when you start losing games like that, you're thinking, great, we took the lead playing this way. Why do we have to carry on playing this way? When you're 1-0 up, you don't need to still be chaotic. You can be a little bit more pragmatic. And that was the issue, really. And that was kind of something that's still stuck under Skubala as well. The fact that Man United away, we were 2-0 up. Listen, I wasn't expecting us to go to Man United and win, but it was the fact we conceded 2 goals so quickly in such quick succession. The Man United home game, we go 1-0 down, straight away the second's gone in. Everton, the goal we conceded against Everton, I've still not got over it now, to be honest with you. I don't know if you've seen it on Match of the Day.
No, absolutely.
It just sums up our season. I mean, I'm not going to have a go at Meslier. A lot of people have turned on Meslier, but I think he's got enough credit in the bank, really, especially kind of like this season.
He's been a lot better than the previous season this year, I think. Because I was a little bit
season he did have a little bit of a dip, I think, where it's a sustained dip as well in form. But in general, over the 3 years in the Prem, he has been.
He's only 22, really young.
That's it. We forget
really
this. We totally forget that he's so young. I mean, the fact he's played not far off 150 games, I think now.
That's incredible, isn't it?
At 22, as a goalkeeper as well, where you don't sort of see a lot of goalkeepers just get thrown in at 19, 20, especially in the situations we've been in. It's not like we've been mid-table for the last 3 years. We've kind of either been involved in a promotion battle, a relegation battle, or a European push.
It's the exact same with Bazunu. The exact same with Bazunu.
And I rate Bazunu as well. I think
he's been getting a load of
really impressed me for Ireland. That was the first kind of time I saw him. I think it's against Portugal or something like that.
Yeah,
It
he
was
saved
just
the penalty against
absolutely
Ronaldo. Yeah.
unbelievable. But yeah, again, he looks like a real prospect.
No, it's interesting that you talk about how the defense has improved because, and this
When I
is
say
something
improved, by the way, it's still not great.
improved,
It is
improved, yeah,
like
marginally
improved is like
better
we've gone from conceding like over 2 goals a game to
one.
just under 2 goals a game kind
Yeah,
of thing. It's still
yeah.
not great.
But it was just interesting. A point made by the pundits last weekend after the Everton game on Match of the Day about, I think they highlighted more about how toothless and out of ideas the attack looked. You know, Patrick Bamford is nowhere near that player we saw in the first season Leeds were back in the Premier League. We were saying how we like Gnotto. I think is that
Gnotto.
Yeah.
But, you know, he looks decent. But generally speaking, it just seemed there was a lack of creativity and a lack of ideas. Would you say you're also worried about Leeds' lack of goals, or at least a lack of a prolific goal scorer?
Yeah, I mean, it was something I forgot to mention before. The fact Rodrigo's been injured was a massive blow to us.
Is he out? Is he out for Saturday?
Yeah, he's out. He's out for like 2.5 months, I think. So it's a massive blow for our survival prospects, to be honest with you. I mean, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, Bamford's better for the system and that lot," and we probably do play better football with Bamford in the team. But in terms of having that, I hate using this phrase, but I've used it a lot with Leeds this season. In terms of having that dog in you, that is what Rodrigo has.
Yeah, it's true.
That is what Rodrigo has in abundance, to be fair, in terms of that delivering in big moments and that lot, goals and that lot. It can be incredibly frustrating for 89 minutes. And I mean him frustrating. Like every single touch is bouncing off him. He's not pressing. He's still. He's almost like a statue. But give him a chance, he scores it, kind of thing. He's like he is sometimes a bit of a liability in that respect, but he does have technical quality in abundance. He is someone who has been absolutely on fire for us this season. And in reality, you know, Leeds have lacked that big game mentality all season, really. You know, the fact, you know, against West Ham, when I really started to worry about us, the fact we didn't win that game, Villa away, again, another chance to, you know, get some points. Forest away. We played okay in those games, but ultimately, we played well at 1-0 down kind of thing. At 0-0, it almost took us to go 1-0 down in these games to really wake up and feel the jeopardy kind of thing. And that's my biggest fear on Saturday, really, is that obviously you guys, I get the general impression that under Selles, you seem to be quite, I don't know how to explain it really. I saw a fair bit of your game against Chelsea, but you seem to be quite relatively high pressing, but pragmatic with it as well. To an extent.
Free flowing, I think. Is
better organised.
Yeah, I think you play some really good stuff, to be honest, on is it Sulemana? Sulemana, sorry. Yeah, again, he's someone that I've kind of seen mentioned a couple of times in terms of the potential European transfer to the Premier League for quite a while. And I think really in terms of, I'll be honest, I've not seen him play a lot, but I do get the impression that he's someone who can really carry the ball well.
He's quick.
He's very much a
very good dribbler
machine. With the sort of Adama Traore, Saint-Maximin mold, when he gets the ball, he's literally running at you kind of thing. And that worries me ridiculously. A ridiculous amount on Saturday, to be honest.
He'd be on. Is it who's your left back? So it's not Firpo anymore, is it? You got a new? Is it Christensen? Do you play him left back now?
There's a chance it will be Firpo. I mean, with the left back situation has been a problem for Leeds. Probably since I was at high school. So it's like over 10 years, to be honest. Leeds United have had a problem in that position probably before that as well. It's just one of those positions on the pitch where we have never really nailed it in sort of 20 years. I think every team's got that really in one extent. It just never seems to buy a decent left back and give us consistency, stay injury free, doesn't pick up a yellow card every single game, gets suspended. But it's an interesting one. Firpo has played better in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
he probably suits the system better because he can overlap a little bit. But he's still not that settled option that we wanted, that we thought we were going to get from Barcelona. But he has been a little bit better in recent weeks. Pascal Struijk was absolutely fantastic first half of the season, but since the World Cup, he has looked a different player in that position. And Max Verber is suspended, which is a big problem for us. That is a big, big problem because.
So who's your centre backs going to be then?
Again, it's hard to say, mate. I think certainly Robin Koch will definitely be the right-sided centre back. Left-sided centre-back will be between Cooper or Pascal Struijk.
Right,
I'd
okay.
thought he'll opt for the experience of Cooper because of the magnitude of the game. But yeah, we just haven't had a settled back four all season, to be honest. I don't think since that third week of August, we haven't really played the same back four week in, week out.
That's crazy, isn't it? Because normally, I mean, similar with Saints, as our centre-backs, right? So we have Bella Kotchap, Salisu, Saleta Sarr, and Jan Bednarek. They've been on constant rotation. We started off the season with Bella Kotchap and Sally, and that looked really, really strong. And then Saleta Sarr started picking up form. So at the weekend, I hope we see Salisu come back in if he's fully fit alongside Bella Kotchap. That's a really dynamic back centre-back partnership to counteract your athleticism up top.
Exactly. I mean, what I don't get about Southampton is, from an outsider looking in, is I look at your centre-backs especially and think they're all really good. Like, individually, they're all really good. I don't know how it works in the system in that lot. Can they play alongside each other in that lot? But when I look at them individually, I think Bella Kotchap, he looks,
I agree.
He looks potential German international. Has he played for Germany yet?
Yeah, he played it well.
No,
he went to the World Cup.
Cup, didn't he?
He went to the World Cup,
He does look, from the first moment of seeing him, I thought, yes, he looks a really decent player.
He was good against Hughes at St. Mary's.
Yeah, exactly, when we play each other. But I could not understand how Southampton are struggling so much defensively when you have got decent centre-backs. Your goalkeeper, to me, looks decent. I mean, where is it from a Leeds point of view that we can target where Southampton are really weak in that respect?
Individual mistakes.
I think it's individual errors, and it's been the case for a while. I think goal scoring's been an issue all season, and we'd like to think that these new signings that came in January might make an impact. Suleiman, obviously, we've spoken about. He's looking really, really decent. But even in France, his end product wasn't amazing. I think it's Onuachu we're going to be looking at now. And we did say we're backing him to break his get his first goal for Saints this weekend, just because we
everyone
think
does. To be fair,
it works perfectly though. He's the tallest player in the Premier League now against some of those defenders. It does make sense, but I don't know. I think individual errors. I think if you're just tenacious enough and patient enough, we'll give something away stupidly. I mean, technically speaking, we did that against Chelsea, but we were able to organise and reassemble ourselves to make some goal line clearances, and we were lucky, despite it being obviously a very good performance. But just to kind of, because I don't want to keep you too long, mate, just kind of wrapping it all up. How do you see the game going, and who should we be aware of? And then finally, I'll push you for a score prediction.
I mean, listen, there's a massive caveat here because I don't know how much of an influence Javi Gracia has had. I mean, having seen his Watford team, having seen bits of his Valencia team, and done obviously a lot of research this week on Javi Gracia, my thoughts on this game would be very different if he has had an influence, because I think first and foremost, there is a real solidity to his football. I mean, the perception is that he's some kind of like Spanish Tony Pulis in that lot, but that's not the reality at all either. I mean, solidity doesn't mean you have to be Tony Pulis. He has got a relatively good compact system, and he does allow the more attack-minded players to express themselves. So I'd have had relative confidence going into this game. I'm thinking that the new manager bounce, the fact it's Ellen Road, the fact it is potentially the start of a new era for us. If we can stay up in that respect. And listen, I'm happy with the Javi Gracia appointment. Listen, he wasn't my first choice, but in terms of the situation we're in, I think it's a sensible one. I'm not sure if he's enough to keep us up on his own. I think fundamentally there's too many problems at this moment in time at the club, but I'm happy with the appointment. But it doesn't look like he's had much influence this week, which makes me think it's going to be another messy performance lacking in identity, which points to a Saints win, to be totally honest with you. I do feel certainly a lot more negative in that respect, but I think we still have the players going forward, and to talk about the players who could potentially cause you problems, I think Wilfred Gnonto has got to definitely be one of them. Luis Sinisterra might be back for this game potentially. If not, it's potentially Crescencio Somerville. If not, and Crescencio Somerville's played really well this season too. So I think they are the two players or three players you really do need to look out for. And I think as well, Mark Rocker, if he's back in, I think definitely makes a big difference to this team. We've never said before we haven't played with strengths. We have always looked better as a team with him on the pitch. You know, I don't know how much you're into stuff like FB Ref, but on the progressive passing stats, he is a legend of the progressive passing stat. He's, I think, in the 90s. He's in the 90s in terms of the percentiles in that lot, which is absolutely ridiculous for Leeds United, to be fair. So yeah, he's certainly someone to look out for if you are playing a high line. I'm not sure if you do under Selles or not.
Well, again, we're still learning as it comes.
I think, to be fair, but if you do play
I think it will be quite high. Yeah, I think it will
could get in behind that with Somerville's runs in behind, Nonto's ball carrying. We could potentially get in behind that. So I'll back us for a draw, but I do think there's more in it for us than that. If Gracia has had an influence, but on the basis he hasn't, I'll go for not a great game of football, to be honest. I can't see it being great. The Everton game was, I think it'd be polite to say that was championship level. I've seen much, much, much better League One games than that Everton Leeds game, to be honest. I mean, the technical quality on show was just, it was laughable, to be honest, of both teams. Everton were much better than us, but for both teams to... And that's the thing with Leeds. I hate things like saying, "Oh, well, they're nervous, are they this, are they that?" But I'm very much the one who talks about like stuff like FV Ref and that lot. Forget about nerves, forget about this. Professional footballers, but there's definitely an element of that. We cannot perform in these games all season. I think Southampton have had a similar issue, so I'll back us to both kind of look at like absolutely nervous, horrendous wrecks in this game, and they'll go for like a 1-1.
I think that's what it was a bit like last season, to be honest. I think both of us were kind of a little bit nervy, and it ended 1-1.
Oh yeah, that one at Ellen Road, with Ward-Prowse free kick. That was an awful game. That was
it wasn't one for the history books.
Wasn't
thank you so much, mate, for hopping on. Enjoy your evening. I don't know if you've got Man United, Barcelona on.
I'll certainly be watching that. Watching that anyway. Look forward to having you on tomorrow as well, mate.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Thanks, Oscar.
Cheers for having us, guys. Cheers,
See you
later.
Nice one, mate. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
What a lovely bloke.
Yeah, really nice guy. Really good chat. I don't know. That's kind of made me a little bit more confident.
He's nervous. They are nervous, mate.
They're nervous, and
it's bigger for them than us. But
to be honest, they've got every right to be. I mean, the run they're on at the moment is absolutely honking, and kind of some of the things that factors have happened throughout the season. I mean, this Javi Gracia stuff is absolutely bonkers. But as we kind of wrap up the stream, we'll kind of talk lineups, personnel, and kind of what we're expecting. If I can just get it up, obviously, well, I'll probably remember it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Obviously, Bazunu in goal. I'm thinking what we started with Chelsea with Bazunu in goal, because it was obviously a lineup that we weren't too pleased about. Perot and Maitland-Niles as the fullbacks with Bella Kotchap and Bednarek in between them. Obviously, Bednarek, you'd like to assume it was him that wouldn't have made it had Salisu not been picking up a knock.
You'd have to pray, right?
You'd have to hope. So we've
got a full squad for
fingers
Saturday.
Crossed that Ruben Selles gives us good news tomorrow.
He's fit, Sally.
Yeah, well, there you go.
He was training today.
Sweet. Lavia and Ward-Prowse in the middle. That's absolutely dead on. I think you absolutely have to keep Stuart Armstrong in there after 100%. His performance. And then you've got Elianusi on the left with Onuachu and Sulemana, a pair up front. To be honest with you, I don't see many issues with that. Now, I think it'd probably be a little bit harsh to drop
stick with the same team.
I think it'd be harsh to drop Maitland-Niles after the game he's had.
It was phenomenal.
Maitland-Niles fantastic.
He made like Walker Peters is one of our best players. I think that's the main argument for me.
I think technically, if you put Walker Peters up against, if you put Walker Peters up against Ayling, Christensen, or Firpo, he's winning fouls, right?
Well, he had a field day last year.
Yeah, against Ayling, he did really well.
When Maitland-Niles wants to play football, he's a bloody good player, but it's whether we get the right attitude out of him.
But do you know
that game against Chelsea?
Obviously, he was very good against Wolves, but particularly, because I was thinking this, I didn't know whether he was playing that game with his Arsenal head on.
It's a good point. It's a very, very good point because that's huge, isn't it? I think if you want attitude, because this is a big game, I think Walker Peters comes in, but it would be incredibly harsh.
I think your biggest games, you have to have your best team, and 100% our better team is when it has Walker Peters in it, regardless of who he comes in for. I think you have to put Salisu in for Bednarek, but then again, Bednarek's been playing.
Bednarek did really well against
and
Chelsea.
He had a good game against Chelsea.
Really well.
I don't think he's won any fans back over yet.
Nah, he can still. Yeah.
And then you've got
he scores the win on 90th minute on Saturday. No, he might.
But then you've got Elianusi on the left. There's a question of whether we see Orsic back in the squad. Same I guess with Saleta Sarr.
Got to be in the squad.
Obviously, Alcaraz.
We've got a massive squad.
We do. We do have a massive squad. You know, I'm looking at that bench and I'm thinking there's a handful that would be in for a start here. Obviously, Alcaraz has had a couple of brilliant games, but there's only 2 spots in the midfield right now, it seems.
He should resuit the system. I think the Grimsby game will be very interesting. So I think we should be making 11 changes there. Like, we've got the squad for it. So it's like
for Grimsby, yeah. No, I agree. But this is bigger. This is way bigger for me.
Hell yeah.
For me, if we can beat Leeds and Leicester and Grimsby,
Liam.
but we'll get 0 points and out of the FA Cup.
I mean, look, 4 points, and then even to be honest with you, I just want to see us move up from bottom. I just want to see us move up from bottom. It's been so draining just seeing us rooted to the bottom of that league table for so many weeks. But I think we can smell blood here, and I think the pressure's more. I'm just drawing so many parallels to the Everton game.
Oh, so many.
You
know how I think
long train journey up there.
Long train journey up. All the pressure on the
not for you, but for us.
I mean, I couldn't tell you the last time we had a top flight win at Ellen Road. I'd have to look.
We haven't since we came up.
Well, yeah, since we came up, obviously, because we played them twice.
Times can change.
It was a Ricky Lambert
3-0 defeat and a 1-1 draw last year. But yeah, I think we have to smell blood. I think there's a genuine opportunity there for us. So leading on to score predictions to wrap up the stream. Personally, I haven't been going confident for a while, but maybe this is going to bite us in the backside. But I'm going to go 2-0 Saints.
Oh, there you go.
Click
that.
I think it's going to be a away victory.
I love
the thing is, and you can clip this. Touch wood. I don't see us losing the game.
Okay, nice.
I see us coming away with some sort of result.
It's a fair statement.
Personally, I don't think a draw is going to be enough to have a genuine hope that we can stay in the league. Just because the problem we face all season is not winning these sorts of games against the teams in and around us. And if we have realistic hopes of staying up, we have to change that, and that starts on Saturday. So I'm going to back the boys. I saw enough from the Chelsea game, and I've seen enough from Leeds to suggest that we could be in for a good afternoon.
Well, Dan, I predicted last weekend we'd win, and I got it right. So I didn't get the score right. I was a bit out there, but I said we'd win, and we did. So I think confidence is key. I'm going to back Dan Hargreaves and go for a 2-0 win.
Is it a hat trick?
Get your bet slips ready. God,
I don't know. I really want to back us, but I just don't know. I don't know. So I'm going to be safe and go 1-1.
Well, we all think. Okay, so we all. None of us think we're going to lose.
No, I don't think we'll lose. I don't think we'll lose either.
I think we
shouldn't. We shouldn't.
Well, I've not seen Saints win away from home since I think the Pompey game.
That's another reason to go.
What? You haven't seen Saints win away from? Oh my life!
I don't think I've seen Saints win away from home in the flesh since Pompey.
Jesus Christ! 3 years.
I saw
Surely.
I saw us beat Sheffield United behind closed doors as a journalist, but I don't count that. As a fan, I haven't seen.
Villa away.
Oh shit, Villa away. Yeah, okay. Still, that season, since fans came back, I've not seen us win away from home.
To be fair, I've only seen it. I've been at Liam knows we go to every game. You only see it a handful of times a year. So fair enough.
Well, anyway, on that cheery note, boys, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
If you've been watching live, thank you very much for your support. If you're watching on repeat, the same goes to you as well. Make sure you have hit subscribe if you haven't yet already. Follow us on all of our socials. Let us know in the comment section below if you're making the trip up to Leeds on Saturday and your score predictions to follow. And we'll see you on Sunday after hopefully a big 3 points. Take it easy, guys.